Two bills before the Nebraska legislature aim to change the state's corn and wheat checkoff programs. Both bills were submitted by Senator Tom Carlson of Holdridge. LB 1057 would raise the corn checkoff from 1/4 of a cent per bushel of corn sold to 1/2 cent per bushel. The current wheat checkoff differs from corn and soybeans in that each sale carries a set amount, no matter the price, 1¼ cents per bushel. LB 905 would alter that structure. We talked with Caroline Brauer, the executive director of the Nebraska Wheat Growers Association, about that and other changes LB 905 would make.
The bill will change the statute for the Nebraska Wheat Board, and there's really three main changes, and you already mentioned one of them, and that is we're going to be changing the checkoff from a flat rate of 1¼ cents per bushel to 0.4% of the market value. So that's a little bit of a change from a flat rate to a percent. The other two changes affect some of our research contracts. The Wheat Board would like to be able to accept research royalties and change some of their contracts from 1 year to multiple year contracts.
And then the third part would be they would be able to accept donations and grants.
Actually, that's the research royalty
Okay.
fees.
Now, what are the reasons for the change, specifically to the 0.4 cents?
There are a couple reasons that have attributed to this. The main one is our checkoff hasn't changed since 1989, and that actually puts Nebraska with the second lowest checkoff in the nation. Our acreages have decreased pretty drastically in the last 10 years, and wheat's just not been able to keep up. We've had to cut budgets, cut contracts, and we're kind of at that tipping point where if we don't do something, it's really going to impact the long-term viability of the wheat industry.
So if the bill would go through, if it gets passed through, ultimately how would that affect not only growers but the industry as a whole?
Well, the obvious one would be they would see a slight increase in the rate that they're assessed on their checkoff. But more importantly, the Wheat Board would have the money to invest in the long-term success of the wheat industry. A lot of that you're going to see in research with UNL. Research accounts for about 1/3 of the Wheat Board's investment in contracts. Another big area they would see would be in international marketing. Nebraska exports about more than 50% of its wheat internationally. So it's a huge market for us, and so working to maintain those relationships and those markets is really important for Nebraska's wheat producers.
If the bill would go through, what would be the increase in revenue? Obviously it differs on what the selling price would be, but how much more would you have to work with?
Right. Well, the thing is, it's going to depend a lot on the year. The nice thing about switching to the percentage rate is that it's going to change with the market. So when markets are high and wheat producers are doing well, we'll be asking them to give a little bit more. But when prices are down and wheat farmers are struggling a little bit more, we're obviously going to have to do more with less.
What do the wheat growers feel about this? I mean, obviously, you're taking a little bit more money, but you're using it to further the product.
Right. The benefit of this is, like I said, it's a long-term investment for wheat producers in the industry. So that little bit, those few pennies on the dollar have huge economic returns. When you look at $1 invested in international marketing, returns $23 to the wheat producer.
If this bill wouldn't go through, and it's already had strong support, but if for some reason it wouldn't go through, what concerns would you have?
I think our biggest concerns would be, how do you invest in research? How do we invest in the marketing? How do we invest and give wheat producers the tools they need to continue producing this crop in this state? Wheat research lags pretty far behind corn and soybean, and part of that is the wheat genomic structure is more complex actually than the human genome. And there hasn't been as much private investment, and so you'll see wheat yields lagging behind corn and soy, and really need a lot of those funds to invest and give wheat producers the tools they need.
Both LB 1057 and LB 905 are currently on the general file before the legislature. It takes a majority, 25 votes, to adopt amendments or move a bill from general file to the next stage of consideration.